Welcome back to Spotlight. I'm Ed Juenka, and this is our second segment. I'm here with the chairperson of the National Youth Policy Committee, Ms. Drusilla Foy, and a member, Ms. Zaverna Samuels Foy, and we're going to be talking about the National Youth Policy that's being developed. Welcome to Spotlight. Good to see you both.
Thank you, and thank you for having us.
Yes, a National Youth Policy. Where did that come from? I mean, do we have one in existence now?
We don't currently have a national youth policy. We actually had one that was being developed back in 1996. It never actually became policy. And now a number of years later, we are trying to draft one that will be actually approved by cabinet and become law or become the policy for the Virgin Islands.
Okay. And who are the members of the committee?
Well, we are a 10-member body, and we witnessed representation from each of the sister islands, and there are persons who are of varying backgrounds and professions that actually make up this team.
And y'all are charged with
drafting the youth policy for the Virgin Islands. So basically our responsibility is to come up with a policy that is going to benefit the youth of the Virgin Islands inclusively.
So you have a set of broad objectives?
Yeah, well, we actually narrowed down to 3 solid goals, and you would note that these goals actually tie in to one another. And we have identified those goals as one being inclusion, the other as empowerment, and the other as policy formulation or policy formation.
Yeah. So inclusion of the young people, empowerment of the young people,
and policy formation.
And policy formation mean policies to empower and to include, in that context of the policy formation.
Right.
Well, as when it relates to policy formation, what we'll do is, for one thing we want to do is we're hoping, I should say, to write the policy as such that a National Youth Council be formed or be established throughout the Virgin Islands. And what that Youth Council would do is be a voice for the young people of our territory. That would be an area where we would have persons being able to talk to whether the leader or the council itself, and that person from the youth council would represent the wider body of youth in the territory on 2 caucus, especially when it comes to decision making, because we have to understand where the youth are coming from and the position that they're in if we're going to make a policy or have a decision in cabinet that will affect them. So the person from the youth council would represent the youth.
So it's like a lobbying group of young people that would be able to make representations to the government about interests that young people have or concern about.
Yes.
So the policy is going to allow for the formation of the youth council, or the government itself is going to create the youth council?
We think the policy is going to be written as such that we recommend or propose that youth council be established in the BVI or in the Virgin Islands.
Okay, so the young people would be able to establish a youth council on their own and have it recognized as a youth council by the government.
I wouldn't say on their own. It would be the government who would actually form it, because we are tasked by the government of the Virgin Islands to write the policy. So it would be our recommendation that they form a youth council. So it would be the government essentially who would be forming the youth council. So,
well, how is the policy going to include the organizational structure of a council?
Right.
Yes.
So
and who are going to choose? Who is going to choose the members and the officers of the council?
We would have to have a set of criteria. We would have to define a criteria for having members of the council. And I think there was an attempt to have a council back in, a number of years ago, I'm not sure how long ago. And perhaps we could even look at how they came about trying to start up a youth council here. And that would be a guide for us. But we know that, we believe that we have to have a youth council. If the youth are to have a voice, they must have some way of actually connecting and reporting directly to caucus, who is the decision-making body for the territory.
Well, my concern is, as a youth myself,
You are.
You are.
the power relationship between the council and the government, in that my interests might not be coincide, or the interests of the youth might not coincide with the interests of the government, and the council would have to be able to have influence in the government, not just because the government feels like doing something for the youth, but in that the youth, by virtue of their membership in the council and their ability to vote, would have their own power base to have impact on the caucus and on the government. And if the government is farming it, and there's not a certain level of autonomy and power of influence with the youth, I'm concerned that might not be as effective as it can be.
Well, maybe we should go back to what is the policy, because if we identify what is the policy, maybe it will be clearer to many people. The policy is actually government's commitment to ensure the good for the youth of the territory. So hence, if there's a policy in place that recommends a youth council be established and be formed for the youth of the territory to benefit, especially in the decision-making processes, then it is government's commitment to the youth to ensure that the youth have a voice within decision-making processes that will affect us in the end. So it's not...
You don't see that as a serial position?
Exactly.
No. Okay. All right, that's cool. Then I could rest assured that everything will be fine.
Right.
Indeed.
as a young person.
Yes.
And if you can just go back, we mentioned that our 3 goals are inclusion, empowerment, and policy formation. And one of the greater aspects of this policy, or the process of developing this policy, would be the empowerment aspect, because we need to be in the position where we have youth empowered as leaders and positive role models. We need to also have a sense of national pride be developed. That is something that's great. I know currently the minister has initiated something within the public school system. I'm not sure if it's a private also, where we have the national anthem being sung every morning and stuff like that. So if
and the national song,
the
territorial song. Sorry.
And in addition to them being sung, we actually the kids are actually taught how they should stand and how they should behave when the songs are being sung. So we want to actually
put into policy
that it is mandated that the kids do this, and so that they can start from a very young age, you know, have that sense of pride, that sense of belonging to country, that sense of wanting to represent, being proud to represent country.
Right.
Who is a youth? Because I'm claiming youthship.
Well,
you're young as you feel.
We don't want you to broadcast your age, but I think we establish a youth between the ages of 5 and 31.
Oh, okay.
So hopefully you fall within that category.
Yeah, I'm 39. I'm a little.
You're a little out. You won't fare. But we establish a youth between those ages. So
okay, so between 5 and 31. Okay, that's
so as you can see, that's a very broad.
That's a good range. Okay. What has been done with the policy development so far? Do you have a draft policy now, or is that still in the stage of development of process?
What we're doing currently is actually the information gathering, and as we said earlier, we do have the policy that they made some attempts on in 1996. So we're following the guidelines settled in that, but we are gathering information now. And when I say that, we are actually meeting with youth groups. You know, we're going into the churches and meeting with their youth groups. We're meeting with the young organization, the Rotaract, and the Leo clubs. We will be having from next week, or town hall meetings that we spoke about on the sister islands and stuff. We launched our Facebook page so we can get the interaction of the young population there. We'll be visiting registers, so we are gathering all the information that's necessary. Actually, it's a way for the youth to actually report or to give us some feedback.
To be included.
Yeah.
That's the main point. And what Gisela also failed to mention is that we actually have been going, you know, on the blocks by some communities so far. We haven't touched all, so look out for us. We're coming.
So you're hanging out.
We're hanging out because
the boys on the block.
We are actually trying to get a general consensus of the different issues that are affecting our youth. Most of them seem to be
similar. You know, regardless of the issues that they have and the concerns that they have, they are almost the same. They mirror each other.
What are some of those concerns?
Some of the concerns they have are unemployment, for one. They also have they want to be trained in technical areas. Also, some of the things are
teenage pregnancy. So it relates to, I guess you can say,
the need for proper sexual education
and training in different things, because we have a strong rate in teenage pregnancies, and it's not only to address the young mothers but also the fathers, because we're noticing now that it's not before where young teenage girls are getting pregnant by older people. They're actually young students, you know, young father students. So what do we do to ensure that both the father and the mother get a continuing education, ensure that they actually get that education that they need and not have to fall back because of this? So these are different things that are, you know, plaguing. We also have a lot of abuse going on in the homes that are really not public. A lot of students, a lot of peers, I would say students don't tell their peers, don't tell counselors. So you find that it's prevalent in the home but very quiet in the public, and this can lead to a lot of different reactions that we may deem to be
psychological challenges and so on for young people.
And you might find you have kids who are very temperamental. You don't know why. They're falling behind in school. We don't know why. So there are a lot of different issues that are plaguing the community that we need to address.
You know, we have the issue of in the schools where a young lady will become pregnant, and well, I understand she's not forced to leave school, but more than likely she's encouraged to leave school, whereas the young man who might have fathered the child has no consequences.
No consequences.
Yeah. Is that something that the policy is looking at?
Definitely, and that's what I mentioned before, to ensure that both parents continue to get the education that they need just for basic work.
So are we moving towards allowing pregnant school-age children to remain in the high school, for example?
I think the thing is, the Education Act is written as such that a school-age child is entitled to an education. So a child who may become pregnant at 13 is still of school age, you know. And if we don't allow her a proper education, then what would happen to the child? Because the mother or the parent itself didn't have proper education.
Right. And I'm sorry, can I?
Go ahead.
One of the things that we also want to say is that we're not forcing the government to say that the child has to remain in school, but what we're forcing in our policy is that this child must be educated properly. So whether it's having a program set up where we have teenage mothers being able to complete their studies while they're pregnant and after they're pregnant, or whether it's allowing them to go to school while they're pregnant and coming back after they had the baby. I mean, it's left, I would say, to the government to ensure that, but our policies is to force the government to have the government get that commitment that, okay, we need to ensure that our teenage girls are educated.
Whether they remain in high school or not, they have to get in high school.
You have to get it.
It has to be provided. It has to be provided.
Right, and it must be a proper one. It can't be like a half step one. No. It has to be properly done.
But no, at the underage teenage pregnancy, it doesn't fall under the law or statutory rape.
Statutory rape.
And how is that going to be dealt with? Because we glanced over or glossed over that statement, you know, that you made about a 13-year-old having a child and then have to be educated. But isn't there a legal issue involved in that? Is the policy going to deal with those types of legal issues? Are you going to investigate those things? Are you going to punish the culprits? How is that going to be handled?
Well, that is something that we are definitely looking into in terms of research, because we have to get all the necessary legal research done on stuff like that. So right now we're in the process of dealing with all of that. Actually, Drusilla sent out an email just telling everybody what they are going to, what their responsibility is in terms of what you're going to do, so that we could get the policy drafted in a timely manner. So stuff like that was also sent out. So every member on that committee, on this committee, is, I don't want to say forced, but is given that responsibility, whether they go out and formulate their own group studies, whether they bring in people on their own to form group studies, and things like that in terms of legal, what are the legalities in terms of rape and statutory rape and stuff like that. All of that would be included once we have gathered all the necessary research that we have, because right now we would be speaking prematurely if we say that we knew what all those legalities were.
We have to take a break. If you just tuned in, you're looking at the Spotlight here on JTV Channel 55 of Edgewenka, and I'm having an interesting discussion with members of the National Youth Policy Committee, Chairperson Drusilla Foy and member Zaverna Samuel Foy. I said that right?
Yes.
We're going to be right back with more Spotlight after these words from our sponsors. Keep it locked.
Spotlight is brought to you by the National Bank of the Virgin Islands, Tortola Concrete Limited, and CCT Global Communications.
Welcome back to Spotlight. We are in the process of developing a national youth policy, and we are having a discussion with two members of the National Youth Policy Committee, Chairperson Drusilla Foy and members Zaverna Samuel Foy. And we're having an interesting discussion about the policy. Young people that want to make a contribution to the development of the policy, make a comment, take a look at it, have some ideas of their own. How do they get those to you?
Well, we meet on Wednesdays at the Department of Youth Affairs and Sports. That's upstairs, the Ward building. So they are free and welcome to stop by and, share their views. They're also welcome and encouraged, actually, to visit our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/VI Youth Policy. They can leave comments there. They can inbox us with any views, any comments, any issues that they have. They can send us an email on viayouthpolicy@hotmail.com. So and the thing is, we want them to do it. We want to get the issues. We want to know where they at. We want to know how they feel. So we need the information from the youth. So we encourage them to stop by or send us a message. And even when we have our town hall meetings, come to them. The dates of these meetings will be broadcast. So we ask you to look out and listen. And just feel free to stop by and share your views with us.
So you're in the information gathering process right now.
Yes.
You don't have, so there's nothing that's been drafted as yet.
No.
Okay. So you're gathering information. What do you have a perception or an idea of what our young people are lacking? What are some of their needs? I know we talk about their challenges, teenage pregnancy, some substance abuse, some domestic violence, perhaps lack of access to impact government, policymakers, I should say, even policy implementers. But the young people themselves, what are you seeing as some of the needs of the young people?
One of the things that based on people that I am speaking to currently and have spoke to before, and based on the trends, I think that what we are lacking are young leaders, which is why I'm so strong on the empowerment aspect of the goals that we're trying to achieve, because we have youth in the territory that are not necessarily guided by positive leaders and positive young role models. So that is something that we need to find out. Why don't we have our youth being influenced by positive role models and by positive leaders? Why is that not there? And we also have a big problem in terms of training, because we have people that want the jobs. they want the jobs, they want to work, but we have a big issue on training. We have a big issue that they cannot perform. So something needs to be done in terms of training. I don't know if it's something that needs to be centralized, that we have a centralized training section for our youth that probably needs to be started from mid-high school or something, but there's a training issue.
But we have the high school, we have the technical vocational training in the high school, then we have a separate technical and vocational training institute. We're in the process of developing some more, a better, a higher standard, a higher quality of technical and vocational training. Why are the kids? Why aren't the kids having access to those things? We get in H. Community College. There's also technical and vocational training. So it seems to me, looking from a distance, that there are opportunities available.
But let's go one step backward quickly, because it's not all about the training though, because we need to first be exposed, and once we're exposed to the varying career choices, then you would start to gravitate towards one, or you would find that my personality, or I really match this one, so you would start to lean towards something else. So when if we start off at training, we just may get it wrong, because I might be trained to be a nurse because my mom was a nurse, but do I really want to be a nurse? Perhaps not. But if we're exposed to even the technical fields, we need to have exposures, and we probably need also career counseling or career guidance or something like that, so that we are exposed to all areas or as many career choices as possible. And then once we've identified where we want to be, then we start the training. But the needs or the means for training, I think we have it at the high school, the college, the technical vocational programs, yes, but we first need to identify the sort of training that we need, the sort of career choices that we want to make.
So how is the policy, the National Youth Policy, going to speak to exposing or making the young people aware of these various career choices? Is there a part of the policy that's going to speak directly to infrastructure development? How is that going to work?
And under the broad title or the broad heading of education, we're going to develop stuff like that, because we're not going to we're doing it also in connection with the Education Act. So who is the member responsible for developing the area of education has to identify with education. And by the way, the person who sits on the committee that's developing our education is actually a teacher. So she has like a good feel and a good sense, and she's speaking and interacting with the kids and what they want and where what they need and where they're headed. So we would write that section in such a way that career fairs and guidance and counselors be put in place. So the thing is, we're really recommending and proposing. And also, once we make our recommendations to government, then it's on the Honorable Minister of Education and his ministry to ensure that the schools, and when we say school, we don't want to just talk about the high schools and we don't want to talk about the public schools, but we want to talk about the schools of the territory, be it public, private, be it primary, be it high schools, secondary, tertiary, all schools inclusively, because they're all Virgin Islanders. They're all kids or contributing to the Virgin Islands. So it would be schools all inclusive. So
is there going to be a Bill of Rights in the policy, rights of young people, that young people have certain inalienable rights?
We will be developing a section actually called Youth Rights and Responsibilities. And it wouldn't just be the rights of the youth, but also what they're responsible to do.
I wasn't asked to be born. What am I responsible for?
You're responsible to being a law-abiding citizen. You're actually, out of one of the discussions I had just over the weekend with one of the groups on the block, the guy said to me, "Well, listen, we understand that we have a responsibility to adapt to change. We also understand that we need to be accepting of the policies that were made by the ministers of government. Once that policy was made, considering our opinions, bearing in mind and taking into consideration how we feel." So I think they already know that they have a responsibility You know, so it's just to develop what the responsibilities are and make it policy.
This policy, is it going to be divided up into sections? What are some of the sections that you're going to have in the policy?
Yeah. Well, while we don't yet have all of the sections that we will develop, coming out of some of the discussions that we've had so far, we know that we'll have sections such as education, health and wellness, entrepreneurship, unemployment, national pride and culture.
But that sounds like quite a few. I know you mentioned earlier that when you talked to some of the young people, particularly young men on the block, so to speak, they talk about training, and training, of course, fits right into entrepreneurship. How is the policy going to speak towards youth entrepreneurial development?
Well, first thing first, we can probably go back to Gisela in terms of we have the training opportunities in place. It's now up for our youth to take advantage of those training opportunities. We also need to make sure that these training opportunities cater to the career advancements of our youth. So once those things are in place and we have the training opportunities, we have the youth taking advantage of the training opportunities that are catered to the careers that our youth need, and we get to the point where we have youth wanting not only to establish their own business, but we have youth who just want to become successful in a particular field that is beneficial not only to the BVI, but to themselves and to the advancement of themselves. And we need to get to the point where we have youth that can go out and produce. So this is what we are trying to do within the policy, make sure that we have productive youth in the territory.
But right now, those same brothers who you're talking with don't feel that they can they have ideas.
And they do have good ideas.
And I don't know if you met any who they fix cars. Some of those kids literally make cars. They know everything about breaking a car, building it back up, making it look good, and, fixing up really nice. But they don't have the opportunity to open up a mechanic shop, and perhaps those are some opportunities that exist in the community right now, where we need good mechanics, we need more mechanic shops perhaps, and young people might want to get into those fields. How is the policy going to affect the government in creating not just the opportunity, but also facilitating the ability of young people to go into business or to realize those dreams and ambitions that they may have?
So choose my words wisely. I am not saying that the youth policy is going to put into policy where youth would be able to get small business loans easily. What I am going to say is that we're going to push for a national youth body that is going to push for our youth to be able to have access to getting small business loans and stuff like that. So that is something that the National Youth Council, in terms of policy formation, when we talk about our three goals are inclusion, empowerment, and policy formation, this is where our National Youth Council will come into play. Our National Youth Council would be the one to say, listen, we have youth that are very talented, they have the opportunities in front of them, however, they just need that backing, and they need that help to get on way. This is where our National Youth Council that we are going to put into policy that needs to be established will come into play. And I will also say, a lot of the problems is not that youth, especially let's go back to the boys on the block, that they don't have the opportunities. A lot of them lack the motivation. So that is something probably we need to look at. Why are they so demotivated in doing stuff for themselves? Some of them just want to make that quick buck. Once the money is there for the while, they stop work and then they continue. So we need to find out, why is it that you're demotivated to not do certain stuff?
So the policy then is, or a major aspect of the policy is the development of the youth council, and that all of this, the policy will be channeled into being made a reality by the youth council. I want to go back to my question about the youth council. So you're going to have a youth council that is going to have an organizational structure that is going to be laid out in the policy?
Not laid out totally, but it would, because I think that the government and possibly under the Ministry of Education would have to go and actually create, I don't know what you would call it in government, maybe some, not law, but maybe a small bit of legislation or some sub additional thing to what they have, to say what the youth council would be. We're going to say it need to be structured as such, but then they'll actually make the law that will say it's going to be this, that, the other.
Okay, but the youth council would be able to have a large membership of community youth. I mean, it won't be a youth council set up as a body of intelligent young people who are sitting around a table and saying, this is what youth needs. Is it going to be something where all the youth from 5 to 31 can join and become a member of an organization that is going to be able to have a relationship with the government?
But certainly in that there would be an executive body.
Right. That's where the difference will come, because you will have a council. The council is made up of these youth, but then you will have an executive body that would be the one in liaison with the government in terms of
the reporting and
of the issues and the development of the youth to the government.
Okay. And what the policy is going to say to the youth regarding education?
It's so broad.
Well, give us a general a statement, a capsule statement, a statement that would encapsulate all of the youth education requirements and needs.
Well, the thing about it is that the main goal after writing a policy for education is that all youth are educated, regardless of mental capacity, regardless of physical ability. You know, all those stuff. So we're gonna have sections under special needs. We're gonna have sections under gifted students. We're gonna have all those different segments.
So it's not like a guaranteed right of all youth to have an education.
Education. Quality education is a must.
For every youth.
And so the government will go to the guys on the street who have dropped out, who perhaps not working or whatever the case may be, and say, listen, what is your status? You got a high school diploma? No. We're gonna have a place for you to go to get a high school diploma.
And that is what we are putting into policy.
It's an active, aggressive policy that the government is, aggressive position that the government is going to take to say to youth, listen, you don't need to be here on this corner at this time of the day. We have something
that is what we are putting into policy
that you're going to be able to do.
We want to present to the government.
And what you're going to do, what health is going to say to the youth? Not to be smoking and drinking.
No, I was just gonna actually see we had things under drug abuse, as drug and substance abuse. We had things under sexual health. We had things under physical health in terms of obesity. We have many people who are plagued with diabetes and all those stuff. So all these different, like I said, there's such broad topics.
We're gonna have more discussion on this, and we are going to have calling, and as time go by and the policy begins to take shape, we are going to have regular conversations, because I think this is very important. I think it's something good that's happening. We are under 10 o'clock. I don't know if there's any last thing you want to say. You want to tell people? Well, of course, this is under the auspices of education.
Yes, and actually in connection with it's under education, but in connection with the Department of Youth and Affairs and Sports.
Okay, and persons wanting to make a contribution to this discussion and to the development of this policy can contact.
They can visit us on Wednesday afternoons from 5:30 at the Department of Youth Affairs and Sports. They can also visit our Facebook page. That's at facebook.com/VI Youth Policy. They can send us an email, and our email address is viayouthpolicy@hotmail.com. And the thing is, we want to encourage every single youth in the territory. We want to implore upon you. Send us your suggestions, your comments, your opinions, your ideas. We need them, because it will help shape the policy, because this policy essentially will be used as a guide for government ministers of the territory. So we cannot stress enough how important it is to get all the issues and the concerns of the youth.
I would just like to say, via youth, this is the opportunity presented to us to get involved in our future. I don't want any youth to disregard or plea for your help. We need you in order to make this youth policy about you. So I encourage, Gisela, what we can probably do is we are also meeting with different youth groups in the territory. So we post on Facebook when we're meeting with these youth groups so that you can also come and be involved. This is an opportunity that you do not want to neglect. It is an opportunity for you to be heard and for us to develop something that is going to be for all children. So this is very important, and this is something that we need to take full advantage of, and I just implore you to come out and support.
Well, Ms. Drusilla Foy, chairperson of the National Youth Policy Committee, and member Zaburna Samuel Foy, it certainly was a pleasure to have you on Spotlight.
It was a pleasure being here.
Yes. Next week, the Spotlight is going to shine on Miss Teen Diva. Three beautiful and intelligent young ladies will be here to display their intelligence and to talk about their ambitions. So don't miss it. Be here on Spotlight next Tuesday. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your words of encouragement. Of course, you can continue to email me at jtvspotlight@yahoo.com. Don't forget, Spotlight is rebroadcast every Sunday afternoon at 2:30. And you can handle the Spotlight as if you miss any, you get a hold of the Spotlight on jtvlive.net. I'm at your anchor, reminding you that when the Spotlight is on, you see the facts. Peace and blessings.
This program is sponsored by the law firm of J.S. Archibald & Co. and by the trust company J.S. Archibald Trust Services Limited, both of Roadtown, Tortola, BVI.